Hi, I'm Dr. Harini Manjunath, Chief Scientific Officer at NeoLacta Lifesciences. Yeah, human milk or the human breast milk, there's a vast science, and human milk is tailor made to meet the needs of these infants. Now, especially when you look into the preterm infants, there's a vast need because there's a lot of burden of preterm infants in India. So what happens is, like we look into the term infants, we also have to look into the preterm babies who are born before 37 weeks of gestation. So they also need nutrition. Now most of the mothers, what happens, they do not lactate properly, especially the preterm mothers. Now in that case, what we say is, if there is sufficient lactation, yes, give the mother milk. If not, then the next preferred option is the pasteurized donor human milk, which will make sure you're still giving the human milk to the preterm infants as well. Now, speaking about the science, what is important is the acceptance of the human milk in these infants is better, which will make sure there is appropriate growth and development. In the previous era, we did not have an option. So that's where the most of them were dependent on the bovine sources. But the acceptance of the bovine source, there had a additional risk factor involved. Now, knowing that we have the option and there is lot many milk banks which is coming up in India, it's great, and we have to make sure we stick to the science and the useful benefits of the human milk. So in India, what happened? The current scenario is, unfortunately, there's 1/5 of the preterm infants, the burden worldwide is in India, and we rank fourth in the burden of preterm infants. So, and also on the other side, the birth numbers in India stands first. So ideally looking into, there's a huge burden of preterm infants born every year in India, and also since these preterm infants are at higher risk for mortality because of the several disabilities they have, they're born with too early. So it is very much important that we look into the nutritional aspects of this preterm infants. So previously, when the concept of donor human milk started up, that was in 1989. So that's when it was rationalized and guidelines made that you have to give pasteurized donor milk to the baby, so that they, especially the preterm infants, it's cater made to the preterm infants so that they can get the optimal nutrition. But however, as for 2019, when we looked into the number of milk banks, we only had 90 milk banks. Now considering the process of human milk or the pasteurization in each unit, it's very limited to 30 to 40 liters, or let's say if it is even 100 liters. Are we able to meet the needs of the preterm infants currently? No. So ideally, if we have to meet the needs of the preterm infants, we need almost 3,500 milk banks in India. So to establish each milk bank, there's a lot of amount which is needed, or the cost involved for the management, and also maintenance which is involved. But however, from NeoLacta, we are making sure we bridge the gap. Wherever the infant is needed, we meet the needs of the infant so that they are benefited. So on the other hand, this is the need of the milk. And also there's a driving myth, you say like, okay, if I donate the milk, is it sufficient for the baby? I would say the body is designed in such a way that it's a demand and supply. The more you breastfeed the baby, the more supply you have. So keeping that in mind, yes, every mother with a term infant can donate their milk so that it can support the preterm infants. Now, understanding the human milk, is it only that the milk supplied by the human milk bank or NeoLacta is sufficient? Now, what I want to say is the nutritional needs from the human milk is vast. So, as NeoLacta, like mentioned, that we are trying to bridge the gap and the needs where making sure the nutrition is pertinent to the infants. So we started with the pasteurized donor human milk. So when we pool the milk received from several donors, the calorific value remains up to 50 to 55%. But the calorific value needed for every preterm infant is almost 70 kilocalories. So we make sure the milk what we produced is standardized. So the every clinician is sure, every mother is sure that the baby is receiving this calorific value for the baby. On the other hand, we have a strong evidence in the guidelines, even the WHO and the ESPGHAN guidelines clearly mentions that mother milk or the pasteurized donor milk alone is not sufficient for the baby. So that's where we also came across human milk based fortifiers, which further enhances the calorific value, adding the macronutrients aspect here. But the additional benefits what we receive from the human milk based fortifier is the bioactive compounds like the immunoglobulins. You want to make sure that the preterm infants have these innate immunity so that it is born within the feed, so that it can fight against the other diseases, right? And the other benefits is adding these nutrient fortifiers. It also helps because the base is the human milk, and it also supports the neurodevelopment. Okay, this was the other aspects. Now on the other hand, we as a first company, we also lyophilize the human milk so that it can be used as a when you don't have a donor milk in place or you urgently need, we are making sure you produce. So give human milk in this lyophilized form, where you can just mix it in the water and make sure that it the base is from the human milk. And this is we have evaluated that these lyophilized milk when given to the babies are rich in immunoglobulins, and it can be used as a golden hour feed, because feeding the every infant, term infant or preterm infant, within 1 hour after birth is every neonatologist focus, that make sure that they give some nutrients, enteral nutrition, feeding by mouth to the preterm infant. So this will play a role. Okay, so these are these are some of the products we have come up, and we are also looking forward to make sure we utilize the human milk as the basic nutritional source in supporting the preterm infants.